In this chapter, we're going to talk about the different environments that I set up before I actually start a mix to achieve that sonic dimension we were talking about. First, we have a short reverb, and generally I use this reverb 1 patch. The things to note about this is, first of all, it has a 1.2 second decay time, very short. I have a little bit of pre-delay on it, 176 milliseconds, because I want it to separate from the sound. I don't want it to be part of the sound. I actually want it to be a different dimension than the actual sound. The other thing to note about this is the amount of top end that I put on it. I like a bright, short reverb because I want them to actually be crisp and punchy in a way. Okay? The second space we're going to talk about is this medium space, and I generally like the Waves IR1. The things to note about this is its basic sound is a reverb chamber. I choose either plates or chambers because they have long, even decay times. You can see by this little graph here, they have a long, even decay time. You can see that the time is 3.4 seconds. Again, slightly larger than the short one. That should do it about that. The third one is sort of a very special one to me, anyways. I have a Reverb 1 again. The things to note about this is I use a basic cathedral setting within this patch. Generally, presets cathedrals are sort of longer and warmer. And even so, I chose to roll off a little bit of the high end here in the color parameters of it. The things to note about this is it's 7.5 seconds long. Here's the key to this long, deep reverb is I use a little bit of chorus. I use an 18% chorus. If it gets too much percentage, what happens is that you end up with a very bendy sound. So I use a slow rate, but a little bit of depth in the chorus. I'll show you later what this actually will do. And next, we're going to have a little short delay. This is a little Digirac plugin, but I kind of like it. The things to note about this is it has 91 milliseconds on the left, 67 milliseconds on the right. There is no feedback at all because I just want it to splatter things in stereo. So if you take a mono sound, you can split it into stereo a little bit and make it a little bit wider feeling, separating things from the sounds that you're trying to put in the middle. Okay. And for our long delay, we're going to use this Echo Boy. I generally like to time my delays to the MIDI map and the tempo map that's within my Pro Tools session. So you can see here that I put the MIDI on. I have a quarter note on the left and a dotted quarter on the right. I do that because I don't want things to sort of feel symmetrical. I sort of want them to bounce in different decay times from left to right. I do have a little bit of feedback on here because I do want them to decay smoothly. Also, I have a high cut where I use it in maximum because I want a warm decay time in my delays. I don't want them to actually be full range. I want them to be sort of a little bit filtered down, a little bit warmer. And you can tell that I've used a Space Echo, sort of an old vintage reverb type on this one. It is in ping pong mode to, again, separate things to push them left and right in that dimension. 1 second. This I use over here is an effects send, to which I will show you how I specifically use this later, but what it does is I use a GRM tools, and I want the send to my delays to be somewhat filtered, again, enabling me to have sort of a different sound and sonic integrity to the delays. So you can see that I've filtered out some of the bottom end and some of the top end, almost like a telephone effect. I've linked them together because it is a stereo send. I then also will take and use this Waves SSL. You can use any EQ that you choose. I actually did this because beyond the filtering of the low end and the top end, I actually wanted to EQ it a little bit. So I have like +9 at 1.5 and also +9 at 2.5, rolling off some of the bottom end under 300 cycles. So again, it's just a way to sort of filter my delay send. And that then goes to my long DDL. So you see there's two ways to send to the long DDL. You can either send it full range directly from it, or you can send it sort of through this sort of effects chain, then sending to the DDL. Another thing that I like to do is that you'll notice here that the return of my Echo Boy is actually going to a long reverb. So when my delays are delaying, they're actually hitting reverbs, very much like in a natural acoustical environment. Next, we're going to talk about this patch that I sort of developed, and at least the way that we use this patch. This is a MaxBass patch that was ostensibly designed to be put directly on a track. You can tell that you can actually put it on a track, have some of the original sound, and then have a sort of a synthesized bottom end here. But I found that if almost like a wet dry thing, that I use this more as an effect. So I put it in MaxBass, I take out the original bass, and you can see that I lowered the frequency down to 70 cycles. So ostensibly it's going to synthesize and filter everything above 70 cycles. I also choose to put a trim plugin on for the reason that I want to actually flop the phase of it. I find with this particular plugin, if you flop the phase, then the sound actually gets deeper. It actually shoots for that elusive 20 and 30 cycles. And that's setting up the spaces. You can tell once again that there's many different sizes of spaces, many dimensions. So as you go to mix, you can grab certain sounds and put them where you want them in the sonic spectrum.